Welcome to the Temple of Flame. On today, Fit Black Lights, we take a look at this. And what this is, hailing from Canada, sweet, sweet, mighty Canada, it is the Dawson's Sweet Pear Chili. Dawson's, I'm winding up with a lot of Dawson's on the list, and you can check out the full list on the blog by following the link to the written review for this sauce in the description below. All right, so we've got Pear, which is honestly my big draw to this was I can't think of a lot of sauce I've had with pears, and I like pears. I like pears. I don't think I've ever had them in a hot sauce before, and I was curious to see how that would work. So we also have vinegar, chili pepper. This is the Vietnamese chili pepper. It's not listed as that, but that's the pepper they used in this. We have garlic, extra virgin olive oil, so it's again another creamy, smooth sauce. Lime, sea salt, and black pepper. And you can see it is definitely got that sort of, it's got a little bit of a light orange hue to, god damn it. Light orange hue to it, and it likes to get stuck in the bottleneck like all the Dawson sauces do. So, why don't we just throw it in the spoon right now? Very, very thick, as you can see, like usual. Dawson's definitely has a style that is fairly distinctively theirs. Same as like somebody like a Torchbearer as well. They're right in that same line where it's a fairly, most of their sauces kind of fit into the proverbial mold, I suppose, if you will, of the maker. But you can see there it is, the very nice light orange with all the flecks of red in it, which is the Vietnamese chili, and of course the black from undoubtedly the black pepper. So it looks pretty good. Definitely a lighter sauce. It's almost a slightly, almost a buttery color in a way. A little bit more orange than that. And of course there are the flecks of pepper and so on in there. So let's get on into this. It's very mild, not a lot of heat here, which is kind of what you'd expect. Garlic is very, very forward in the flavor. Garlic is certainly among the top flavors that we're getting here. There is a sort of light, almost a light fruity sweetness behind it, which I presume would be the pears, but it's almost like the pears are here more for texture than anything else. They don't read very strongly into the flavor. It's an interesting sauce. It's fairly, in a lot of ways, fairly nondescript as far as the flavor goes. And then the Vietnamese chili doesn't contribute a whole ton of flavor, but there is a very slight burn there from that. That is, I think, mostly just there for heat. I like the idea of this. And this is one of the things I was worried about with pears. Is pears are a fairly subtle flavor. And most hot sauces don't want to be subtle and are not subtle. Most of the hot sauces are very prominent. They're very forward. They're very forceful. And this one though, it does turn away from that somewhat, having the subtle ingredient in it. All right, so we've got here McDonald's Deluxe McCrispy. I didn't feel like driving. This does not mean that their boycott has been lifted. It is still very much in effect as far as I'm concerned, but not to the. I mean, a boycott is supposed to be inconvenient for me and for you and for everyone else doing it. But I am a convenience whore. And those two sides do serious battles. In this case, convenience won. But, you know, in 2025, we're turning towards fall 2025. That is by far the closest restaurant of any type to where I am. I've been there 2 or 3 times maybe total this year. I think that's more what the boycott winds up looking like. Is it's not like I drive past it to go somewhere else. I just do stuff in my kitchen or in the grill or whatever, and don't utilize them or anybody else for anything. Which, you know, I mean, they've really gotten away from... A lot of these places have gotten away from what fast food was portrayed at. And so the problem with that is that when they get away from what hot sauce is portrayed as, which they were the ones, by the way, that portrayed it as that themselves, everybody in their mind is going, hey, what the hell is this? You're supposed to be fast and cheap. Right? That's a classic pick 3. Right? Pick two of the 3, fast, cheap, or good. They're supposed to be the fast and cheap option. And if they're not living up to that, they're running into problems. And I think the overall patronage of all those has fallen kind of off a cliff this year, which is good, and it should just keep falling. But there's times. And this is one of them. So let's get into this on this Deluxe McCrispy and kind of see where we're at. This is the perfect place to use it, actually. The sweetness and the creaminess kind of melds with the mayo. And McDonald's, you know, for whatever else, they do have an excellent mayo. It might be the best thing that they have. But it adds that little bit of sweetness as well. That was really nice. I don't know if this is going to stay together. Obviously, I forgot to get a plate. This is one of those videos where, you know, I'm not buying for content. In fact, if you read my blog, you'll see that I spend a lot of time repeatedly agonizing how I'm not starved for content. But this one, I just kind of had a window. I wanted to do a little filming. All the stars were aligned. I don't know that I would say that McDonald's gotten any better. Not like they suddenly moved into the good side of the equation. But they do seem to do... Jesus. They do seem to do a decent job at being consistent. Which is, a pretty major facet, I think, that will set you apart in the fast food world. Because I think it just feels like a lot of the time anyway that a lot of these places just don't give a shit. So if you give the pretense that you do, even slightly, you're already well ahead of the game. Now, it's not enough by itself. If you're still slinging absolute garbage, that won't help. But in my view, if you can consistently kind of position yourself so you're more or less hitting with the expectations that you yourself have taken pains to build up in the customer's mind, then I think that's the smooth good move there. Obviously, different locations do this better than others. The one by me generally does a pretty good job. If, however, there's another one that's maybe 20 blocks, 25 blocks to the east of me, and that one is extremely questionable. And it's on the same street, it's on the same major road. So, but it's just kind of wild. Like, certain locations will do a decent job, and certain locations you want to avoid the plague so you don't wind up getting food poisoning. So, anyway, all that aside, this was fantastic on that. I like this sauce. I don't love this sauce. I like this sauce. I think it's pretty solid. It's interesting. The idea of using pears, I think, is a fascinating idea. I don't... it didn't work out badly here. Every one of Dawson's sauces are pretty decent for the most part. And it didn't work out poorly at all, from a taste perspective. But I wish it would have been a lot more pear forward. And I think that is, that's kind of the issue, I think, with pear. So I think if you're going to do a pear sauce, then for me, I would start with pear and honey, I think. I'd pair. I'd pair it up with honey. And I wouldn't include lime. It doesn't really read in this sauce, but so the pear, the vinegar, the chili pepper, I would probably, this chili pepper is actually fine. I don't think I would change it. Garlic would go further back, though. Garlic would go kind of where sea salt and black pepper are, way down in the mix. And the extra virgin olive oil is fine. But I think doing that, pairing the pear with honey, and starting with those two as your main base, and then just kind of working up from there, I think you'd have a really fantastic sauce. This is one that I think is somewhat more interesting than it is resonant. I hesitate to say good, but it's not a bad sauce by any means. It's just, it would be more resonant to what I'd hoped for and to my individual palate had those things kind of been there. So, but this is another good sandwich sauce. Like this one, it was super good on there. So if you're looking for a hot sauce that you can pair with mayo to bring a little bit of heat and provide a fascinating dynamic, like on a sandwich, not together, this is a world beater there. I don't like it as much in the other parts. Like it is very thick. It doesn't. honestly flow particularly well. So, but it'd be a problem if it did, I think, in a lot of ways, because you would sort of lose some of that concentration of flavor. So this is just kind of, it doesn't seem like it has a super definite purpose. I like what's here, but this one, I think, again, for me, more is just kind of pairing it with mayo dishes that don't also involve mustard. So maybe like a pasta salad, something like that. I think would actually be really quite good. And I think you could actually do some very interesting things with salad dressing with this as well. So this is definitely another sauce that I'm going to have to kick around a lot more. Usually by the time I do these reviews, the experimentation phase is over. But sometimes you get sauces where it's in the middle of it, like this one. And sometimes there's sauces where it's actually almost at the front curve. So, but yeah, very, very solid in terms of just an overall product. Again, I would have preferred a couple things to be a little bit different, but I do like what's here, and it is definitely got some very interesting flavors, particularly, you know, which application you mesh it with. And it's another, like Dawson's, I think, makes some really, really interesting stuff. And we'll just leave it right there. So that was the Dawson's Sweet Pear Chili Hot Sauce. Now go forth in peace to serve the flame.